Hello everyone and welcome to a bit of a different BrainScratch update. I'm planning on releasing a full new episode of BrainScratch this week, but I believe it's going to be coming late. I'll try to get it posted later today, Friday, or possibly early tomorrow, Saturday. But the case that I'm reviewing is the John Lang case, and it's taking me quite a bit to dig into all the materials there and get that together. And this update was really important for me to do, so I wanted to be sure to get this one out as soon as possible. That being said, I have won my YouTube copyright battle over the Battle of Los Angeles video, so that is once again available. So if you missed that for some reason when it was available before, it's back. You can now search on BrainScratch, the Battle of Los Angeles, or look in the BrainScratch playlist and find that episode and check it out. But today we're discussing the Bianca Carassco case. We're going into a bit more detail. And let me just say that it was an interesting day when I posted this. Of course, many of you commenters started giving input and feedback and ideas and different things to think about, which I really appreciate. But apparently her sister Giovanna also saw the video and had replied on Facebook, I believe, with a bunch of bullet points of things that she noted were incorrect. And what really sucks about that are some of the things were noted by major media companies, even ones that were quoting her. So to hear that there was so much incorrect information kind of boggled my mind. But luckily, someone that saw those posts got her phone number to me. I was able to call Giovanna, and we had a very, it's weird, I don't want to say good, but it wound up being a good conversation. She shared with me this new information. I'm going to go over it with you, but I was also able to try to help her think of some potential new angles on where she might be able to find her sister or what could have happened. I was able to share some insight with her that I have gained just from talking to other, I guess it's the word victims, but family members that have people missing and kind of the struggles that they go through. One of those that frequently comes up is the relationship between the detectives and the families can sometimes get tough because the families don't feel like the detectives are doing enough. Those are very natural feelings. They happen in just about every case that I seem to review. And certainly when I do get in touch with people that are related to these cases, I hear that very frequently. So it was just, if nothing else, it was nice to be able to try to smooth this over, try to help her out in some way. And in return, I think we've got a bunch of new information that can really shed some more light on this case. And now, after talking to her yesterday, I'm more than confident that the information you're going to get here is going to be a bit stronger than the information that you're even seeing on the news channels. So with all that being said, let's start the re-review on Bianca Carassco. Once again, just want to thank Aaron Luna, who also copied the bullet points and sent them to me. But let's take a look at this. Wednesday, April 27th, Bianca's husband found out about her communications with other men. She did not tell him. He found out. And there's two things to note there. First of all, yes, it is communications with other men. Now, I don't have a whole lot of detail, but it is just to say that she was talking to several men. What's also interesting about this is that her husband found out about this. He was not told about it. So in terms of his emotional landscape or a possible motive for him to have done something, that is considerably different. I can tell you that I have personally gone through that where I found out that someone I loved was cheating on me, and I found out they didn't tell me about it. And it is extremely painful, puts you in a real bad place. So just some clarifications on that. Number two, after her husband's discovery of this information on April 27th, Bianca went to the phone store to get a new phone in her own name. So a couple things shook out around this phone call with Giovanna. First of all, her husband did not take her cell phone. And that is a major consideration because I know for many people, when you look at this situation and consider those facts, you're thinking, well, the husband took the phone. I mean, he might have done something to her and taken the phone so that it wouldn't show where he took her or something along those lines. Well, after he found out about the communication, she went to the store, got her own phone. Her old phone was actually, I believe, given to their son to use as his personal cell phone. So as far as the phone, apparently it did ping in the area close to her home. The last ping is, I believe, at 10:22. I think it's in, yeah, it's in the last bullet point there. 10:22 p.m. and it seems like the phone was shut off after that. And I asked Giovanna a few times, you know, and there's no further activity. That phone has not been turned back on. I'm kind of hoping for something like we saw in the Brandon Swanson case, where the phone started working again a day or two later. But according to her, as far as she knows, there are no further pings after 10:22 on May 1st from Bianca's phone. Number 3, Bianca's husband depleted bank account according to a text sent to Giovanna on Wednesday, April 27th. So that is in fact true. But Wednesday, April 27th, we're now talking about several days before the day she disappeared. I did talk to Giovanna about that, just said, you know, wasn't Bianca working? Wasn't that essentially her money? This seems kind of weird. And she agreed it was not a nice thing. I'm pretty sure that Joe Daniel is actually kind of regretting doing that action. It was probably him lashing out from being hurt, but that's just my 2 cents on that. Number 4, Bianca opened up to Giovanna Wednesday night about other personal issues aside from marital problems. Bianca said, quote, "I feel like I want to go to sleep and not wake up," and, quote, "I am drowning." And this is probably one of the stronger points that Giovanna wanted to drill in with me. Was she was worried about Bianca prior to her disappearance. This speech in particular scared her, and I think reasonably so. When you hear someone talking about that, you might assume that they're thinking about hurting themselves in some very bad way. So I don't know a lot about the details in what else was going on in her life. You know, it's a real dance that you have to do when you're trying to get information that is relevant to try to help find the person, but still maintain some type of privacy for the family about what that person might have been going through. But just know that the way that we're looking at this and the way that we're looking for her, we should consider the possibility that A, maybe she did run off. Maybe she is trying to reboot her life in some way. B, there is some potential that she might have been trying to end her life, which would be extremely unfortunate. At this point, I think I should note EquuSearch has already done a search of the area where the last ping was. I guess they used some drones to try to scout the area, and apparently nothing has been found yet. I did put the question to Giovanna, and this was probably one of the tougher parts of the conversation for me. I put the question to her about, does Bianca have any favorite places that were within walking distance? I just know that I've seen in a couple of these cases, for example, like the Jeff Bradstreet case, you know, he went to a favorite vacation spot. People might think that if they're going to end their life, that they want to see that thing one last time or be at that place one last time. So Giovanna couldn't think of anything off the top of her head, but any of you out there that are potentially friends of Bianca or know a bit about her life, maybe you have a piece to that puzzle that you could help fill in law enforcement and her sister with. Number 5 is just confirming that Bianca's old phone was indeed given to her son. Number 6, Bianca did not give her husband her wedding ring back. And that is, I think that's important as well, because the way that the first episode that I did covered this and the way that the news was covering it, you kind of put all these things together and it sounds like, wow, they were having a big nasty fight on that Sunday night, and that really lines up her husband as being a potential person of interest in here. From what Giovanna told me, they had not been wearing their wedding rings for quite a while. And obviously, yes, that is a statement to your spouse when you're doing that. Apparently, her husband does have her wedding ring, but it's not because she actually gave it to him. It's just because they haven't been wearing their rings, and I guess that he has now since reacquired it. Number 7, no divorce was ever filed. Once again, just a clarification, they were obviously having marital problems, And it seems like things were ramping up, especially that last week leading up to her disappearance. But as Giovanna noted, there were many other things going on in Bianca's life. Giovanna was concerned for her. Apparently their relationship was a bit strained prior to that, and Giovanna wasn't really hearing from Bianca, or they weren't having the same types of conversations, open communication with each other like they had before. So I'm really not sure what to think of that. You know, typically if someone's doing something that they think their family will frown upon, that might be a reason why they would start pulling back and kind of closing up their communication a little bit. But that's what we talked about. Number 8, all 3 kids were not left alone Sunday, May 1st. Only the 2 oldest kids, 10 and 9. The other child went to Odessa with Bianca's husband Sunday night, May 1st. Very, very important fact. I can't believe the major sources didn't report this. But now that scenario that I know many of us were drawing in our heads about her husband having potential to do something to her or to hide her body or something along those lines has a major wrench in the works. He had a child with him on that drive. So the likelihood that that occurred is very, very low in my eyes now. But that being said, I still look at the decision to leave the 2 older kids, who are only 9 and 10, alone as somewhat risky. A little bit hard to understand, but just know that the youngest was actually with him on that drive. Number 9, she was dressed the way she was because she had left her home earlier that evening and came back. Giovanna doesn't know for sure, but all she could really do is speculate that she might have gone out. She might have potentially met up with someone. We're not sure, but it seems like she was dressed like she had been out earlier that evening. There was an altercation when she came back because there were exchanges of text messages from a man. So from what Giovanna knows, the main fight that was triggered that specific night was that she was receiving these text messages while she was there with her husband, and her husband became upset to the point of saying, you know what, you're really going to do this in front of me? That's how this is going to be. And that was kind of the trigger for their fight. Allegedly, she was frustrated and said, quote, she was done and leaving, and then allegedly started walking away from their home. I've heard those words before. I've said those words before. I think most of us have probably said those words if we've been in tough conversations with people we love. She did not go to work or call in on the Monday or Tuesday after her disappearance. Giovanna says this is extremely strange. Bianca loved her job. She loved the work that she did. For her to miss work without calling in is extremely, extremely strange. Giovanna says Bianca would have absolutely, at least at a minimum, called her supervisor and said, I can't come in, or something's up, or something along those lines. And none of that ever happened. She just did not show up for 2 days of work. Giovanna did not know she was missing until around 4 p.m. on Monday, May 2nd. Giovanna called the police after calling Bianca's work Tuesday morning and finding out that Bianca had not shown up for work. So we now have a bit of a better understanding here, and we know that there is a pretty good time gap we've got from Sunday night, and police really don't start looking at this until Tuesday morning. I just want to put this out there in case any of you are ever faced with this. When Aaron first contacted me, he was asking just for tips about what people should do if they find themselves in this case. And I said, of course, notify the police, but make sure that you get them to fill out a missing persons report. That is such a key component, because once the paper trail starts, that starts all kinds of other activity. So Giovanna did talk about that process. Apparently it took a little getting to get it done. She heard the same things we hear time and time again. This is an adults. They are perfectly capable and have the right to leave or disappear. So after going missing, there have been discoveries of certain social media accounts that she was involved with. I asked Giovanna about that, and, have you been able to compile a list? Are you forwarding that information to investigators? She's definitely working on all of that. I think it's a bit frustrating because with social media, sometimes you have friends and they are just virtual friends. They're people that you never meet in person. I do think that there are situations where it goes the other way, though, for certain types of social media where you have friends in real life and you also connect on social media. So it's hard to go through that whole list and know who's who. But as far as I know, she is processing that information and trying to get it to investigators. And that's really where my heart just starts tugging on this. That's part of what's really tough for people that are left behind in these cases. Not only is she taking care of 3 additional children on top of having 2 of her own, but she's the point person for this investigation. She has access to some of these records that might be helpful. She's trying to balance a new home life with 5 children in total on top of this new job that is trying to investigate what happened to her sister, who she might have been involved with, what potentially could have gone down. After speaking to other people that have been in that position for years and years and years, it is in itself a full-time job, and you never let go of it. It becomes a part of your daily life. You're just always wondering, you're always questioning, and you're always thinking about how can I look at this differently, or how can I gain new information. So I was just trying to, trying to share with her that, look, settle in for this. This might be something that you're doing for the long haul, and just wherever you can grab some peace for yourself, just please do it, because I can't imagine even how taxing that must be for people to have that responsibility just weighing on you day after day after day. And not to mention how tough it must be when, she's interacting with this husband that people are kind of looking at sideways now and saying, hey, is this guy involved in this in some way? And, she's got his kids essentially that she's taking care of. My heart goes out to Giovanna so much, and I'm just so thankful that we were able to connect and share some time on the phone. It's one of those phone calls. I've had a few since I started doing this work. It's one of those that kind of reaches down to my core and really makes me feel good in one way for what I do in terms of trying to raise awareness to these cases and help people. But there's something oddly inspiring when you talk to someone that is in that situation, because they just become this well of focus and energy, and I don't know where they get it from. But they do. They keep looking. They keep the hope going. It's so important in these cases, and I wish Giovanna all the best with how she's dealing and coping with this, and especially for those 3 kids. I truly hope they get to see their mom again very, very soon. Last but certainly not least, if you want to help Giovanna and Bianca's 3 children, which you can see a picture of right here, a Gofundme account has been set up, and this is going to directly help them with very important things like bunk beds, doctor's appointments, being able to do extracurricular activities for school and all that kind of good stuff, things that children need as they're growing up, and I think it's very important. As a matter of fact, on behalf of BrainScratch, myself, and my very amazing Patreon supporters, we are also going to be making a donation to the wonderful work that Giovanna and her husband Justin are doing by taking care of these 3 very special children, while Giovanna continues to balance all of that and try to be the point person for this investigation. So my heart goes out to all of you guys, and once again, thank you to my Patreon supporters. It's amazing that I'm able to do something like this, and it's really because of you guys, so I appreciate it. I hope everyone out there is having a good week. Thank you so much for joining me on this kind of different, very special BrainScratch Searchlight update. I will catch you on the next show on the Geek and Dorks channel. Take care.